Hey, Ed from Precision Gun Reviews here. Today I'm back with a review of the Smith & Wesson M&P380 Shield EZ, yet another entry into Smith & Wesson's long-running M&P line. And much like previous shields, it is a polymer-framed single-stack pistol, but this one is chambered in 380 ACP and uses an internal hammer-fired mechanism. It is 6.7 inches long, it is 5 inches tall, and it's about an inch thick. It's 1.05 inch thick. So it is still very concealable, much like the other Smith & Wesson M&P shields. It also has a 3.675 inch stainless steel and Armor Night finished barrel, so a little bit longer to go along with its greater overall length. The gun only weighs 18.5 ounces, and it has a capacity of 8+1. These are the two 8-round magazines that come with the firearm, and they're very special in that, much like a .22 long rifle magazine, they are incredibly easy to load thanks to these little pull-down tabs attached to the orange follower. So rather than pushing down on the previous round on top of the follower, you pull down on the tab and just simply drop the next round in, all the way down to the bottom. So that's really nice for people who find loading magazines to be difficult. And the EZ moniker on the Smith & Wesson 380 Shield EZ carries over into a number of features about the pistol that make it just easier to operate. Perhaps this was intended for those new to firearms, or those with decreasing hand strength, or any other special case that would require them to have some of these features that make the gun easier for them. Taking a look at the pistol, you can see it shares a lot of design philosophy with the rest of the M&P line. It does have this textured grip integrated into the frame. It is not as grippy as the larger calibered pistols in the line, which I like because it is still very secure in the hand, and with the 380 round, it isn't quite necessary to have such an aggressive grip texturing on the gun. The slide, like other M&P pistols, is stainless steel with Armor Night finish, which is Smith & Wesson's non-corrosive nitriding process to finish the steel both on the slide and the barrel. The slide features the classic fish scale serration Smith & Wesson is known for, with a very small amount of serration also in the front for easy press checks, as well as racking the slide normally. You can see here that this is an unloaded pistol. Additionally, the rear serrations have an extended tab. I'm going to point the gun this way, and maybe we can see that this is protruding. That gives users something more to grab onto to make it easier to rack this slide. And the slide truly is very easy to rack. Here I can just grab the front sight and pull on it. It's the easiest to rack slide I think I've ever used. While we're up here, we can take a look at this safety feature, which is a loaded chamber indicator that is tactile and visual. And these sights are 3-dot sights. They are steel. They are very nice sights, just like all of the Smith & Wesson M&P pistols. I really appreciate these excellent sights that they put on their guns. The rear sight is windage adjustable. The front sight is pinned in. And you can see back here there's no rear plate on the back of the slide, and that's because it's an internal hammer-fired pistol. Continuing to look around the gun, we see that there's a Picatinny rail with 3 slots, your standard takedown lever that you find on most M&P pistols, and a slide release, which is only on one side of the pistol. The magazine release is only on one side of the pistol as well, but it is reversible. It is a polymer button, and it has a very good ejection. These magazines themselves are nicely fitted into the firearm such that they're not too tight and don't cause much drag when dropping. Now you may have noticed this little doohickey back here. This is a grip safety. If you have a good view under the slide here, you can see that something is happening in there, and that is simply the gun is preparing itself to fire. It's releasing the safety by putting this grip on. So if we take a look at a cocked firearm and we do not apply pressure to the grip safety, we see that the trigger does nothing. However, once we take a real and correct grip on the gun, the trigger is now functional. The safety is disengaged. And it's really nice in that the grip safety is the same polymer, the same feeling as the rest of the grip, so it's very unobtrusive when you take a grip onto the gun. And on the subject of safeties, this model, the 180023, does not have a frame-mounted thumb safety, but the gun is also available with that frame-mounted thumb safety if you prefer. I don't think that's necessary considering we already have this safety, but it's available. And also, speaking of the trigger, we can take a look at that. So here we are. It is non-resistant up to this point. This moves freely, this trigger. There's the wall. And that's the trigger brake. The reset is right there. You heard it and saw it. Very short reset. Very crisp trigger brake with very minimal travel. I think this is an excellent trigger. And especially for people who have spoken their mind about the hinge trigger design on previous Smith & Wessons, this single piece polymer trigger is going to be very well received. It'd be nice if this trigger were on the majority of Smith & Wesson M&Ps. I really like this trigger a lot, actually. Now, as far as takedown is concerned, and bearing the trigger in mind, typically on a Smith & Wesson, you would lock the slide back, pull down the lever, and then you'd have to deactivate the sear, either by pulling the trigger or using the sear deactivation lever. Because this is a hammer-fired gun, you simply let it go. No need to pull the trigger on this firearm. Taking a look inside the gun, you can see here we have that hammer. If I were to pull this trigger, the hammer could come forward. You wouldn't want to do that for any real reason, maybe to clean. The internals are just as simple as any other Smith & Wesson M&P. We have pretty beefy rails in the front, standard kind of small rails in the back. Looking in the slide, we have this polymer guide rod with recoil spring. It's a light recoil spring because it is easy to rack and the slide itself is very light. Here's the barrel that we talked about earlier. Much like every other Smith & Wesson M&P shield barrel, it's got a Browning style lockup. A lot of 380s come with a fixed barrel, meaning blowback action. But in this case, we have the standard recoil action. It does have a little bit different lockup down here underneath, but otherwise it is a standard sort of Browning action tilt barrel design. And the slide, as I said, is very light and low profile. And we don't really have much going on in here at all because it is hammer fired. So there's just space for the hammer to strike the firing pin and set off that round. There is an internal extractor in this firearm, and that's really about it. Really clean design. So we can just put this right back, and it is very easy to align. Oh, and this is something I love. So this front end of the polymer guide rod is not circular, so it can only be inserted in one direction here to match that hole. And that's important because when we get back to where it sits on the barrel, we see that there are flat edges as well as rounded edges. So by putting this in the correct way, it automatically lines this up the correct way so that this slide goes on easily. And that's it. That's all it takes to put the gun back together. So now that we've discussed the pistol itself, let's talk about its shooting experience, the reliability of the gun, the accuracy of the gun. And in all of these categories, it is very much a Smith & Wesson M&P. It is accurate, it is reliable, it's a fine firearm. It's just simply designed with the user in mind who needs some of these easy to operate features, and for that it is very commendable. It shoots incredibly flat because it is a 380 and it is a sizable firearm. It's easy to get a good hold on this. It's sort of what a lot of people call the perfect size at 5 inches tall. It gets you a full grip. The gun is low profile. You get your hand up in there nicely. It's got this sort of beaver tail integrated into the frame. Recoil is minimal. The sights are excellent. So everything is in place to make this a very positive and enjoyable shooting experience, as well as an easy to operate firearm. I shot full metal jacket and hollow point defensive ammunition in this firearm. I shot crappy cased ammo in this firearm, and I never had a bobble with it. It has been reliable 100% in my shooting, and it has been very accurate because it's super easy to manage that recoil, and you can really fire off shots rapidly without losing any accuracy. And this is both commentary on the firearm itself as well as the 380 cartridge, because a lot of it has to do with the fact that you're shooting a 380 rather than a 9mm. But the experience has been fantastic, and if the 380 was a cartridge that I wanted to carry as my defensive load, this would be a very nice firearm to use, in my opinion. Again, I do love this trigger. I think it's wonderful, really. You may not like this take-up, but it's basically negligible because there's nothing there. You don't feel anything. You just put your finger to the wall. That's it. Finger to the wall. And pull. I really do appreciate such a good trigger on a Smith & Wesson M&P. It's almost shocking. So overall, the Smith & Wesson 380 Shield EZ comes highly recommended from PGR, especially for those shooters who require those easy to operate functions on the firearm, that easy to rack slide, that easy to load magazine, the loaded chamber indicator for safety, the grip safety for added peace of mind. It's really just a good firearm, and it includes something like this pick rail, which is fantastic to have. It's a good nightstand gun as well as a carry gun. And that trigger, I'm kind of jealous of the trigger. I wish that trigger were on my 9mm Shield. Anyway, at $399 MSRP, also, it is just hard to pass up. You can probably find it anywhere from $325 to that $399, but you probably average around $350 for this Smith & Wesson M&P380 Shield EZ. So thumbs up here. And that's all we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, please do subscribe, hit that bell notification icon, and as always, you stay safe out there.
I just wanted to give a quick shout out and thanks to the gun store of Conway, South Carolina. They help us transfer in all of our firearms for review. And you should check out the gun store at scgunstore.com. They are a full-service guns and gear shop with an indoor range. They stock a wide selection of handguns, shotguns, suppressors, NFA items, tactical rifles, hunting rifles, and gear. They are fully stocked with all calibers of ammunition. They have gun safes, holsters, magazines. They do gunsmithing on site if you happen to be in the Conway, South Carolina area. Additionally, they hold training courses for those in the area.
Both
And they also offer a fully automatic experience in their gun range with an AR-15 or a Thompson 45 Tommy gun. They've got knives, they've got used firearms, parts, accessories, really just about anything you could think of related to firearms, home, and personal defense. I recommend you take a trip over to scgunstore.com, and no matter where you are, go to shop.scgunstore.com, where you can shop their inventory online and have it delivered right to your local FFL. That's the Gun Store of Conway, South Carolina. Thanks for making all the reviews that you see here on PGR possible.